Time now for one full hour of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Hough and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, here's your hosts, Doug and Marty.
This is The Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for being here for our half hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. Co-Grand Marshal of the K&N Route 66 Nationals, Don the Snake Prudhomme, will join us. And President of Route 66 Raceway, Scott Paddock, will be here as well. We're fired up and set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast around the world, this is The Straight Line on MRN.com. I'm Marty Hough, and as mentioned, setting ourselves up for our brand new format, launching the same content and the same interviews, just now in a 30-minute package to fit into your busy lifestyle. And speaking of busy, the guy that's normally to my right, and now we have Wally right now to my right, but the guy normally on my right is the 4-time IHRA Top Fuel champion, 10-time NHRA National Event winner, who is now on the telephone line with us in sunny Southern California. Doug Herbert joins us on the telephone line. Doug, speaking of busy, you're maybe the busiest guy I know. What are you doing out there in Southern California?
Well, I'm out here getting it done. You just said it exactly right. The fastest hour in drag racing, because we do it in 30 minutes. So, we're going to get it done really quick. I'm out here in Southern California. Mimi and I are out here doing some work. We're working with our partners at Kia, and right now I'm over at Con Media. Con Media is the PR agency for brakes, and we're out here working with them. And we've got schools every weekend in Pomona and Fontana and San Diego. So we're out here promoting the schools and talking to some people and visiting with the guys at the NHRA Museum over there and the NHRA and just kind of getting around and spreading a little bit of love out in California.
Now, when you first started the brakes program here many years ago now, did you ever think that you would be out in Southern California for an entire month like you are now and setting up in, I think it's 40 different weekends during 2016?
51 weekends, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, 51 weekends of brakes programming in 2016. So that's wild. I had no idea. The first year, you know the story. I wanted to train John and James' friends how to be safer drivers, and we trained 50 kids. And then it's just kind of snowballed, because then 200 more parents wanted me to teach their kids. And now this year we're probably going to teach close to 10,000 teenagers about how to be safer and more responsible behind a wheel. And I didn't know before my kid's accident, that's the number one thing that kills teenagers is car crashes, more than the next 4 things put together. So
wow.
I think it's important, and Kia thinks it's important, and the National Hot Rod Association thinks it's important. And so that's what we're out here spreading the word and trying to teach more teenagers and get them a little bit safer and more responsible behind the wheel of a car.
If people want more information about brakes, how do they find out?
Well, best thing to do is go to the brakes website, putonthebrakes.org. So putonthebrakes.org is probably the best place to find out information, and also schedules of all the different locations where we are all around the country. Invite everybody to go there and check it out, see what we're all about. A couple of really good videos on there in the video section, and that'll probably teach them just about everything they need to know. And if they've got a teenager, get them signed up and bring them out to a class. Now,
a couple of days ago here on the 4th of July, I was kind of on social media and checking things out, and then all of a sudden I see your posts about the 4th of July parade in Catalina Island where you were. That, my friend, looked like an absolute blast.
Oh my gosh, I was blowing up. There was quite a few adult beverages happening there.
Really?
We weren't driving anywhere.
No.
So we had a lot of fun over in Catalina Island, it's an island about 26 miles off of Los Angeles, and they have every year a big 4th of July parade. So some friends of mine, Roger and Karen Comstock and Tony Ledford, all my buddies, they were over there hanging out, and so we went over there and decorated up some floats, and we were part of the activities over there. It was a big deal. They had the USC marching band.
Yes.
They had the Budweiser Clydesdales.
Wow.
I mean, I had no idea. I mean, this is a small town, like literally about 3 or 4 blocks, city blocks, the whole town. But it was all these incredible things going on. Just a super fun time, and had a great great reason to go and hang out with some friends for a holiday.
Now, I'm one of the things that I'm regretting that you're not here is that we get the opportunity to talk, or at least I do, to talk to the co-grand marshal of the K&N Route 66 Nationals, Don the Snake Prudhomme.
Yeah.
Just some thoughts from you growing up in Southern California, drag racing fan, became heavily involved in the sport, obviously, but Snake was one of those guys, just a legendary figure, not only in Southern California, but in drag racing in general.
Oh, everywhere. I mean, Prudhomme, he's one of the original hot rodder guys.
Yeah.
He started wiping the tires for
Tommy Ivo.
Tommy Ivo, yeah, for TV Tommy Ivo. And then, I mean, Prudhomme, he loves drag racing. He's been involved forever. So for Don the Snake Prudhomme and Tom the Mongoose McEwen to be the grand marshals up there at Chicago, that is great. Actually, I should get with them because now I've been the grand marshal a couple times.
Yeah.
I could give them some tips. I'd tell them, tell them what they need to do to be a grand marshal. I got that all figured out now. But those guys, the Chicago bunch, which is, the strange guys that are up there, Strange Engineering,
sure,
and Tiramissinis and Schumacher and Luigi Novelli, and of course, the Chi-Town Hustler, Austin Coyle. I mean, there's a lot of drag racing history come out of Chicago. So really neat to see the Snake and the Mongoose go up there, and I could say they're very worthy grand marshals. And what a neat deal for them to be up there and be involved with that. But I've had some great experiences at Route 66, and I'm sure this year that race up there this weekend is going to be a big one.
Yeah, a lot of times when you show up at the racetrack, you're one of the fan favorites. A couple of years ago, when it came down to the finals, you were not a fan favorite. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I think there was only like 10 people in the stands that wanted me to win, and all 10 of them were my crew and maybe some Snap-on Tools guys that wanted me to win. Pulled up there to race Schumacher, and I mean, really, I'm looking at it on paper. They outran us every run and whatever. But my crew chief, Ed McCulloch was my crew chief that year, and Jim Brissett had been with me forever. And I got him together in my, in our little Brain Trust lounge, and I said, guys, we've got to beat them. We've got to beat these guys. Let's go up here. Let's throw a shot at them. Take a chance, because they're going to go up there and they're going to run 450. We're running quarter mile times. If they're going to run 450 or low 450, we need to go up there and run a 449. Like, we need to make a hell of a run, and we need to win this race. And I'll tell you what, the ace stepped on it. Brissett kind of twisted his arm a little bit, and we went up there and ran our best run of the year in the final round to put Tony Schumacher on the trailer. And that was big. I got to tell you, that was a big win and a really fun race to win. Any race is fun to win, but that was especially big, winning that race in Chicago at Route 66.
And twisting Ace's arm is not an easy feat, whether physically or anything else, because he pretty much has a mindset of knowing exactly what he wants to do. I wouldn't want to get in an arm wrestling match with a guy, or just about anything with Ed the Ace McCulloch. But on that day, you're right. He kind of threw something at it, and you guys made it stick and ended up in victory circle.
Well, he wanted to win. Ed McCulloch he's a winner. And, obviously Ed has burned a lot of nitro and been around for years with Connie Coletta and everybody from back even 100 years ago. But I think the years that Ed McCulloch spent working with Dick LaHaye over there at Coletta's was pretty instrumental in his tuning ability and being a racer. There's one thing with being a crew chief and being able to run a car, and then being a really good racer that could win races. And I think a little bit of Dick LaHaye rubbed off on McCulloch, because obviously McCulloch is a very good crew chief. He knows how to win races. He knows how to do that. And I think a little bit of that probably came from the school of Dick LaHaye, not much unlike Jimmy Prock and a lot of the other crew chief, top crew chiefs out there. All these guys learn from somebody. They either learn from Lee Beard, from Austin Coyle, from Dick LaHaye. I mean, there's that group of premier crew chief guys that were kind of the journeyman trainers for a lot of the top crew chiefs that we have now.
Yeah, and wound up winning you a race at Chicagoland just a couple of years ago. Doug, thanks so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule there in Southern California. Good luck with the brake schools that are coming up. We will talk to you in some more further episodes of the Straight Line here for the first couple of minutes. Thanks for your time. We really appreciate you, and we'll see you here back in a couple of weeks here in the studio.
That sounds great. I'll be talking to you, and I'll go on and listen to the iPod broadcast here shortly after the show to make sure you do a good job.
All right. Thanks, friend. We'll see you later.
See you, Marty.
All right, and that's Doug Herbert joining us on the telephone line. He will be in Southern California for the next couple of weeks and doing brake schools. And, of course, that's an excused absence here on the Straight Line. And he'll be back here in the studio in just a couple of weeks. When we return, we will talk to one of the all-time legends in drag racing. Don the Snake Prudhomme joins us next.
This is the Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We'll have more for you right after this.
O'Reilly. If your AC is blowing hot air, let O'Reilly Auto Parts help bring back the cool this summer. While you may need to eventually service your AC unit, get immediate relief with Interdynamics R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy 2, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Missed the race this weekend?
Danica Patrick is up in flames. Paul Menard will crash.
Or just want to relive the best moments?
That was an amazing finish.
Catch all of the action and highlights right here.
Jimmy Johnson gets nailed, and it's a big one.
It's the Sprint Cup replay getting you on the fast track to victory lane.
Woo! Good job, Kansas, yes.
Don't be left out of the conversation Monday at work. Listen to the Sprint Cup replay on MRN.com Mondays at 7 a.m. and 1 p.m.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now it's back to Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Thanks for joining us today on The Straight Line. I am Marty Hough. Doug Herbert will join us next week here on The Straight Line. Joining us on the telephone line right now is a man that needs really no introduction. He is the co-grand marshal of this weekend's K&N Route 66 Nationals in Joliet, Illinois. 4-time funny car champion Don the Snake Prudhomme joins us. Snake, thanks for your time. We really appreciate it.
Sure. Well, it's nice to be on your show. Thank you.
We talked to McEwen here just a couple of weeks ago about being the co-grand marshal of the Route 66 Nationals up there, sponsored by K&N. How did this thing come about for you guys?
Well, this is the 50th year of funny car racing, and they're promoting that. So some of us guys that started in the beginning with the funny cars, it's kind of doing a celebration, I would say, and they're going to have some of those cars at the track on display, and they asked us to come in and say hey to everybody and do what we could do to promote the event.
Now, you started as a top fuel guy in a dragster. Then, about 1970 or so, McEwen came up with this harebrained scheme about Mattel and about Hot Wheels and it launched a whole other thing. Now, I was reading somewhere, and I did a little homework before we came on the air, that you thought that McEwen was really kind of joking around when he was talking about getting Mattel on board with this thing. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Matter of fact, there's a movie out called Snake and Mongoose, and that's all in there. But yeah, really, we were just a couple of young guys out in California here at Lions Drag Strip and racing our cars. I was painting cars for a living, and he was cruising around in his mom's hopped up, Chevrolet. But anyhow, his mom had ties to Mattel. and introduced us to some folks over there. So Tom went over and put the deal together. It was just like that. It was one of those things that just doesn't happen every day, and it was a chance that Mattel took on it. It was only their first year in making Hot Wheels, from the Barbie doll thing, but for boys. And man, we're still doing work with Mattel.
Now McEwen says that he liked the Snake and Mongoose movie and thought that about 85% of it or so was true to fact. How did you like the outcome of the movie, and did you think that it pretty much stuck to what the facts were?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was right on. Unfortunately, they didn't have another $30 or $40 million to spend on it. That's a shame. But
right.
Outside of that, it was a fairly low budget movie. But and that shows. And we're not real happy about that, of course. But the story itself, I think, was a good story. I think that for folks, they just think we run up and down the track. Well, there's a lot more to us, than that. You can see it in the movie, with Tom losing his son, and the difference of us competing against each other was really grudge matching and grudge races, and it was for real, and the fans knew it.
Now, back in the day, if people don't realize it, now that there's 24, 25 national events here in the NHRA, and they're all over the place, people really don't realize that back in your day, in your heyday, there was probably 4, 5, 6 national events, and most of your racing came in what was known as kind of barnstorming or match racing.
Exactly. If it wasn't for places like Charlotte and Pennsylvania and all around the country here, we couldn't have made it. So although we had sponsorship from Mattel, the real money was in match racing, bringing traveling all around the country, like gypsies kind of, or kind of like the World of Outlaw guys, how they run all those dates, load them up and go to one the next day.
Right.
That's how we did it for several years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 nights a week. You were talking about, they didn't have money to fix their cars week in to week out, but you guys were out there 3 or 4 nights a week. You really didn't have time to stop and think about, well, could we afford this or could we afford that? You were just getting to the next race and packing it up and going to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. But what's really helped out is we've become fairly well known, so the track operator would book you in and pay you, so you would have guaranteed money going into the event, which was kind of unheard of at the time, because usually it would be a trophy and a check if you won a race, but we were actually paid to come in like entertainers pretty much. But we put on a show when we were there that they always wanted us back,
Yeah. Now, a guy after your career, you took on the hat of team owner, and a guy that you brought along, some kid named Caps out of San Diego, who's turned out to be not too bad. He caught you last week in total wins in fuel wins with 49. Now, he told us that he was expecting some sort of snarky text or email, about that. And so did that ever happen?
Well, it hasn't happened yet. I think he's got to win one more race.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to Chicago this weekend to hopefully be a part of that. I'd sure like to see him do it,
Right.
But one thing he hasn't caught me on is championship.
That's a fact.
So he's still trying to get his first one, and I'm sure pulling for him.
Yeah. How much do you see in the difference in today's drivers to the drivers of yesteryear when you were in your heyday?
Well, it's similar to any other form of racing, like NASCAR or Richard Petty. Back in those days, the driver had to jump out of the car. I did, driving my stuff, and tell the crew what to do. It needs more clutch. It needs this. It needs better tires. Whatever the situation is. So the driver had to tune the car, like Garlett's and myself, and that's one of the reasons that Garlett's, myself, and a few other guys excelled pretty well in the sport, because we had a good feel for it. We knew what the engine was doing and what it needed. And in today's world, it's a lot different. Of course, the cars are a lot faster, but the trick for the driver is getting off the starting line first, and of course controlling the car going down the course. But he's really not too involved with what the car needs to run better.
Now, earlier this year, just before the four wides here in Charlotte, speaking of Ron Capps, he was here doing some media, and there in front of ZMAX Dragway, the track had borrowed the now Rick Hendrick Snake and Mongoose cars and had them out front there. Me and Capps were sitting there just kind of shooting the bull, and he stuck his head into your car, and the first thing he said is, wow, the safety equipment on these cars are not anything like what we have now. Funny cars back in the day were a bit of a handful, and not even a bit, were a whole bunch of a handful, and probably not as safe as they are today.
No, certainly not. And we lost a lot of friends along the way, but we didn't know any better. It was an engine, transmission, and you just got in there and you drove the thing. And hell, I remember we didn't even have fire extinguishers until we found some little bitty ones on a wall someplace and stuck them in the car just in case you're on fire at the other end. You could use them, but certainly don't have the fire equipment we have today or the fire suits. But that's all part of racing. If you look at any form of racing, you look at cars back in that day and age. They look plenty dangerous and spooky to drive.
No question. Don, you started in dragsters, had a ton of success in funny cars, and at the end of your career, got back into dragsters. Is there one, now that you have a little bit of time to look back on it, is there one that you prefer more than the other?
Well, getting back into the dragster, what year was that? I'm trying to think. 1990, I believe it was. At the end of the '89 season. The end of the '89 season, we'd won in our funny car, Skull Bennett car. We'd won the U.S. Nationals, the Bud Shootout, and set the record, and did everything there was to do. Yeah. And I thought, my career's coming to an end. I like to jump back in the dragster and take this power we made in the funny car and see what we could do in a dragster. And that was a stupidest mistake I ever made. It was the dumbest thing I ever did. Yeah. And both Bernstein and myself did it the same year. We thought, the funny cars were way, way more fun to drive. It was a whole different ball game, but I thought I'd try it. But
had a couple of issues there in '90 with the dragster.
How's that?
Yeah, had a couple of issues there in 1990, especially at Montreal.
Oh, yeah, turn the thing over backwards. The first time out, we went to Bakersfield to test it during the week. The rear engine car, it hadn't been in one in years, and the way we had it set up was like the funny car, and it went out in the middle of the track and broke a front wing and turned the thing over backwards. So it was like a welcome to drag racing or to dragsters again. Wow. It was a bad scene, but we did when I did retire. I think we finished like second in points. We won a bunch of races in the dragster, and I hung it up in '94. So I had a good run at it.
Yeah, no question about it. We see it at the track a lot in all forms of motorsports. Obviously, you've through the years you've made a lot of relationships with the NASCAR guys, with the IndyCar guys, the sports car guys, and obviously with drag racing. What keeps you busy? I mean, obviously, we see you out a lot nowadays.
Well, drag racing was always my thing, but what I really, really dug was open wheel racing. And I rode with Nicky Lauda one time in Europe, and I had a Ferrari. He took me around the track, and so I fell in love with open wheel racing. That was in '76, and so through those years with Penske and Indy cars, Ganassi's a great buddy of mine. So I enjoy open wheel racing a lot, and Rick Hendrick, I got to know Rick real well, and Gordon and those guys, and I think it's all mainly because I've been around for so damn long. You sooner or later you meet these guys, and find out that you got a lot in common with them, and it's a real cool feeling to have friends like that.
And a lot of friends indeed, and going to meet some more of them this weekend at Route 66 Raceway there for the K&N Nationals, and we can't wait to see you there in Joliet. Snake, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and have a great time as the co-grand marshal this weekend at Route 66 Raceway.
Thanks a lot. Great. Nice being on your show. Thank you.
Don the Snake Prudhomme joining us on the Straight Line. And when we return, we'll keep talking about the K&N Nationals in Joliet when Scott Paddock joins us next.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. More right after this.
O'Reilly.
Keep your windows clean and see clearer with Gunk Glass Cleaner. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy one bottle of Gunk Glass Cleaner and get one free. Gunk's high-performance ingredients clean glass and hard surfaces without leaving a film or residue. Gunk Glass Cleaner, buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job, our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to Don the Snake Prudhomme for being on The Straight Line today. And a big thanks to O'Reilly for being a big sponsor here on The Straight Line. Taking a look at the O'Reilly Shredder Stock Car, the full-size edition, and where you can find it. It's all over Wisconsin. So if you're in the Wisconsin area coming up this week, coming up next week, you can find it at those places on your screen. And joining us right now on the telephone line is the president of Route 66 Raceway, and getting ready for this weekend's K&N Route 66 Nationals is Scott Paddock. Scott, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Great to be back on with you.
Well, and we really appreciate your time because we know that you're right neck deep in this stuff. So let us in on what's going on this weekend at Route 66 Raceway.
Well, we're thrilled to welcome the fastest form of motorsports on the planet back here to Joliet, Illinois, right outside of Chicago, and just got an action-packed weekend. I mean, the weather forecast is phenomenal, and when you're in my shoes, that feels pretty good.
Boy.
Everyone's kind of walking around with a little more jump in their step, so we're really excited. I know you had Don Prudhomme, the Snake, on a minute ago, and really excited to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Funny Car this year by welcoming back Snake and Mongoose and a number of other legends: Greg Mosley, Pat Minnick, Gary Dyer, Ron Ardell,
wow,
and Artie Bestweek. Not only them, but also a lot of vehicles representing that 50-year lineage of Funny Car. I mean, not a lot of people remember this, guys, but Richard Petty actually sat out the 1965 NASCAR season and ran NHRA, and we actually have the King's stock car here. It was a,
really?
kind of a precursor to the Funny Car division, and we've got that on site as part of the overall exhibition. So really an action-packed weekend for the fans to enjoy.
Really, and kind of combining the NASCAR scene and the drag racing scene. Of course, in September, it's going to get real busy again with the NASCAR guys showing up. But for this weekend's K&N Nationals, if somebody wants to show up and buy a ticket, where can they do so?
Sure, they can go onto our website at route66raceway.com or call 1-888-629-RACE, 888-629-RACE, or just come on out here. It's going to be an amazing weekend. Just a great representation. John Force, Courtney Force, Brittany Force, a lot of Antron Brown, our defending Top Fuel champion. So, you know, whenever I describe this sport, I talk about the full body sensory experience. You know, 10,000 horsepower going from 0 to 325 in 4 seconds. Tony Schumacher described it to me once as what an astronaut feels during liftoff on the space shuttle. So that's what the fans experience in terms of that full body sensory experience. And then the access. Every ticket is a pit pass in the NHRA. And after you watch the action on the track, you can watch firsthand these world-class crew chiefs and mechanics break down these engines and rebuild them for the next qualifying pass. So it's all about access. It's part of the fabric of this sport.
Again, where can fans get tickets?
Route66raceway.com or 888-629-RACE.
Scott, thanks so much for your time, just taking a couple minutes out of your busy day to get ready for the Route 66 Nationals, sponsored by K&N. We really appreciate it. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate the support.
Scott Paddock, the president of Route 66 Raceway, joining us on the straight line. Also joining us today, Don the Snake Prudhomme, and what an amazing individual Snake is, and still out there after all these years promoting the sport of drag racing, and really taking his experience, his knowledge, and everything that he has done in drag racing has been just absolutely phenomenal. He and Tom McEwen, you get the two of them together. It's like two old timers sitting there weaving tales. Usually they're not exactly accurate to fact, but that's okay. We are not letting facts getting in the way of a good story, and that's for sure about the Snake and the Mongoose, as they will be the co-grand marshals this weekend at Route 66 Raceway and the K&N Nationals there. One of the most unique and beautiful facilities in NHRA racing. So we're really excited for the NHRA Tour to show up at Route 66. Big thanks to everybody involved, including Doug Herbert, Robbie Mays, and Daryl Smith. My name is Marty Hough. We will talk to you next weekend right here on The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Tune in again next Thursday at noon Eastern on MotorRacingNetwork.com and the MRN app. The Straight Line is the show for drag racing fans and is brought to you by Hercules Tires. This program is also available on demand at the MRN.com Media Center, or you can download it through iTunes or Stitcher. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.